Be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The A470 northbound is congested at the Nantgarw off-slip. On the A9 near Broxton roundabout, a broken-down vehicle is causing restrictions. The M6 southbound between Junction 11 and Junction 9 near Walsall is congested with 30-minute delays. Normal conditions are expected between 9:30 and 9:45 this morning. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services between Wolverhampton Stafford and Birmingham New Street are disrupted. Cross-country services are delayed at Southampton Central and between Wolverhampton, Stafford and Birmingham New Street. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
And royal commentator Sarah Louise Robertson.
Hello, Nana.
Hello, Sarah Louise. Right, talk to me. Let's talk about Prince Harry. He's been knocking on doors. What on earth is that story about?
I found this story extraordinary, Nana. It's amazing to think Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, turned up in Fulham, neighbourhood of London, posh neighbourhood, shall I say.
Yes, of course.
And we're seen wandering aimlessly half a mile up and down a road, knocking on 3 different random people's doors, looking for his friends. He actually said, I'm looking for a friend. I mean, I felt that was Prince Harry putting a desperate plea out into the world that he needs friends.
But perhaps his friend lived in one of those doors. I mean, if you were knocking on the door of your friend's house.
Clearly, yes. But I just think there's something like he was caught on this Ring doorbell camera and he just looked really forlorn and really sad. And it was obviously just after losing his court case and, you know, then pouring his heart out about his dad ignoring him. And there he is, begging for a friend on the street in London.
So
How the tables have turned.
So that wasn't it. So maybe it was an ex-friend's house. The friend clearly doesn't live there, otherwise they wouldn't have sold the doorbell footage to the Sun.
I reckon they just didn't want Prince Harry there.
Oh, do you think maybe they were there?
I reckon they were just hiding behind the door. Just watching him make a fool of himself going up and down the road.
Watching him going, oh, there he goes to another doorbell. Bless his heart.
It made me think of that sketch, though, in that comedy, The In-Betweeners, where they shout, friend, friend.
You are wicked, Sarah Louise.
I know, I'm a bit mean, aren't
me.
I do still feel a bit sorry for him, though, because he's obviously in a bit of a sad state of affairs at the moment.
I'm going to say,
things aren't going his way.
You've changed last week since you went viral.
I
last
know.
week you felt sorry for him. Now listen to you laughing at him.
But I still do. There is that little bit of, like, sorry for him. And I do think his dad does need to speak to him. I do. And also, it's in the Constitution that King Charles should speak to him.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Friday, May the 15th. This is Britain's News. Is it the 15th?
Or is it the 16th?
I think it's the 16th. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Queer.
Yes, good morning to you. Now, our first story, of course, a 21-year-old Ukrainian man has been charged in connection with a series of fires which seemingly targeted the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. We will have the latest from court.
I have been very clear since day one when we started this process with Italy that this was a one-off.
Labour migration plan derailed. Sir Keir Starmer's offshore asylum plan may be in jeopardy as Albania rules out hosting more processing centres and distancing itself from the Prime Minister's proposals.
Keir Starmer's phrase that he used endlessly before and during the election campaign about smash the gangs was just that, a phrase. Complete nonsense, hasn't had any impact, and they haven't been able to reduce the flow of people coming across the channel.
And as senior Tories hit out at Labour's plan for return hubs, we're asking this morning, what is offshore processing? How does it differ from the Rwanda scheme? And most importantly, will you end up footing the bill? And royals in Westminster. The King and the Prince of Wales will attend the Order of the Bath service at Westminster Abbey. But what's its significance?
What the hell just happened?
Eurovision. We'll look ahead to tomorrow night and find out whether we stand a chance of topping the charts or being hit with the dreaded nil point.
Good morning to you. Hope you're well. Very good start. I didn't know the date, and Nana's mic has gone, so let's
I don't know what's
mic.
wrong with it. We'll share a mic. In fact, we'll probably be better than the UK entry for Eurovision. Have you heard it?
I have. It's a bit generic, isn't it? I'm not a massive Eurovision fan. Are you?
Is that the one where it's the three women, or there's women in it, and the woman does the scary eyes in it, and is that the one?
Yeah, it's called...
something weird.
What the hell's going on?
Oh, what the hell?
What happened? What just happened?
Listen, we've done stuff like that before. I think one we had, Hey DJ, don't play this song on the radio, and of course that flopped. What just happened is another one of those titles that is only going to go wrong.
This is a bit weird.
Happen?
What's just happened here? This is a bit weird. Look, we're going to get Nana's mic fixed, and we'll get a big 2.5 hours coming up, including also this David Lammy saga on the front page of the Sun newspaper. What do you think about that? gbnews.com/your say. First, though, let's get your news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Ben, Nana, thank you. A very good morning. This is your top story today. Sir Keir Starmer continues day 2 of talks with the Albanian Prime Minister to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. The PM is looking to collaborate with other European countries to fulfil his pledge to stop the boats. Meanwhile, the PM and European leaders will meet at a summit in Albania later today to discuss how to ramp up pressure on Russia. Sir Keir Starmer has called Vladimir Putin's tactics to dither and delay intolerable. That's ahead of the 14 leaders meeting in Tirana later. A 21-year-old Ukrainian man is due in court today, charged in connection with fires at 2 properties and a car linked to the Prime Minister. Roman Lavrinovich faces 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. He was arrested at an address in south-east London in the early hours of Tuesday and charged on Thursday, according to the Metropolitan Police. He will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court today. And President Donald Trump is wrapping up his Middle East trip today with a busy final stop in Abu Dhabi. He kicked off the morning at a major business forum where he pledged stronger ties between the US and the UAE. Trump announced more than $200 billion in deals, including a big push into artificial intelligence. He's now sitting down with American and Emirati business leaders for a breakfast roundtable at the presidential palace before flying back to Washington later today. And MPs are deeply divided as the assisted dying bill returns to Parliament today. The proposals, backed by Dame Esther Rantzen and Sir Keir Starmer, would legalise assisted dying for terminally ill adults. Medical bodies have raised serious concerns, some arguing that the bill does not have enough safeguards and that it's been rushed through. A final vote is not expected today, with debate likely to continue into next month. And a major fire at the historic Bicester motion site in Oxfordshire has been brought under control. Flames broke out overnight at the former RAF Bicester Air Base, prompting a large emergency response with 10 fire crews. Earlier warnings for nearby residents to stay indoors have now been lifted and roads have reopened, as you can see with the live pictures on your screen now. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour, but now it's back to Nana and Ben.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning to you. Hope you're well. Thank you for your company. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. With me, Ben Leo and Nana Akweer. You are silenced for the time being because I think your mic is still duff. Interesting story on the front page of The Sun. David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, has been accused of having a row with a French taxi driver in France, of course. He apparently, there's some pictures in The Sun, he apparently left the rear seat in an absolute state, sandwich boxes and coffee cups and sugar everywhere, and allegedly, according to The Sun, was saying effing French, effing French. I must stress the Foreign Office and David Lammy, of course, denies that. But the caveat is, this morning, I read that the taxi driver asked for £600 more for the fare, and the total fare was something like 1,200 quid. He asked for £600 more when he realised who David Lammy was, so it was after the fact, and for me, that's a little bit cheeky. Right, more on this in just a tick. Great front page story on The Sun. But elsewhere, the other big story today is that the King, King Charles, says he'd like to think he's on the better side of his cancer journey as he continues his weekly cycle of treatment. His Majesty opened up during a visit to Bradford yesterday alongside the Queen, celebrating 2025's City of Culture. Our royal correspondent Cameron Walker was there.
A welcome fit for a king and queen. Crowds waited hours for their chance to meet their majesties. Bradford is a community of many faiths, something championed by the king, according to one of his deputy lieutenants, Sophia Bunsey.
This is just our way of saying thank you, and thank you for recognising the rich diversity and multiculturalism within our city and what we bring to the UK as a whole.
Well, this is the King's second visit to Bradford as monarch, celebrating its status as City of Culture for 2025. The focal point is Bradford Live, refurbished at a cost of £50 million.
You want me if all the cards disappear? Nice, man, that's your...
Inside, their majesties were entertained by Bradford Bread Dynamo and special performances from local groups. Outside, locals were enthusiastic about their city.
There's so many things happening, so many events happening, so many initiatives.
But others, not so much.
I don't think it'll ever get back to what it used to be. I think it's declining.
The King also visited Impact Hub Yorkshire, which is being expanded from Bradford after helping thousands of people and hundreds of businesses to grow. Including Imran Khan, who now employs apprentices at his tailoring business. Garments which are fit for a king. His Majesty helps stitch a special label to a jacket he will wear. A second jacket was presented to His Majesty 2 years ago.
That's gone to now. He's in his Balmoral Castle, and we got 2 lovely letters from him, and he's wearing it casually. So now this time we've made this for him. So it's exciting and it's something good, bringing cultures together.
In a poignant moment, the King met Safina Khan, a local florist who survived cancer. They spoke about their journeys with the disease.
He gave me the thumbs up. He said I'd like to think I'm on the better side. So I think the key is that you don't give up on yourself.
The King continues his weekly cycle of cancer treatment, but still continues a full programme of public duties. Today, he's scheduled to join the Prince of Wales at Westminster Abbey, putting on a united front with his heir. Cameron Walker, GB News in Bradford.
Great stuff. Thank you, Cameron. Nana, somebody said on your say, Nana speaks volumes with her eyes.
They said I don't look happy. No, I wasn't, because my mic wasn't working and I can't sit here in silence. I find it very difficult not to talk.
No, not for a talk show host.
No, but...
Right, anyway, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Ben.
Good to have you.
No, nice
Did
to
you
see
see
you
this
as well.
Lammy story?
I know. Look, I'm sort of struggling here because I'm not really somebody who's supportive of David Lammy in any way, shape or form. But it does seem a bit odd, this story, to be honest. And the taxi driver did appear to drive off with the stuff in the back. I know that you could forget someone's things were in the back, but then it took him a while to present the things to the police station. Maybe he didn't realise they were there. There is that. But it did seem that he asked for more money when he realised who David Lammy is. So the kind of question is, why was David Lammy getting in an Uber? Effectively some sort of like a transfer, something I think it's called, but it's effectively like an Uber. Where is the security around the foreign secretary?
And also, it was £1,300. It was €1,600, €1,600, which...
Well, it was a 6-hour journey, though. So the journey was a 6-hour drive.
Could he not have got a train, or...?
Well, I don't know, but the point is that I suppose for a 6-hour drive you probably charge quite a bit, but it seems that the company that received the money for the fare have said that there isn't an issue with the money.
The other funny aspect is that, you know, these pictures showing the back seats of the taxi, so there's coffee cups, there's sandwich cups, there's sugar sprawled and sprinkled all over the rear seat.
Well, it might have looked like that, but that's irrelevant, really. It might have done. I mean, it was a 6 hours long journey, but still, we've got to find out what happens, really. I want to hear the full story.
And apparently, I mean, this is the big one, the Foreign Secretary allegedly yelled effing French twice at the cab driver.
Well, you might...
But the more I read about this story, the more I'm uninclined to believe the cab driver.
But wouldn't you be swearing at somebody who's apparently driving off with your stuff?
And trying to charge you £600 more.
I mean, you know, if that is how it is, then, you know, those words that he used would probably be...
Yeah.
Quite tame.
I don't know what went on here. It's a funny story. It made me laugh this morning.
Me neither. But yeah,
anyway.
Interesting. David Lammy in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, but then that doesn't sound like it's his fault, but we will find out. We will just follow that.
Yeah. A Foreign Office spokesperson said of this incident, "We totally refute these allegations. The fare was paid in full. The Foreign Secretary and his wife are named as victims in this matter, and the driver has been charged with theft."
Right, well, stay with us because MPs are debating the assisted dying bill in Parliament today in a bid to legalise assisted dying in England and Wales for the first time.
Yes, the bill passed the first stage of the Commons last November, but since then amendments have been made to the bill.
So, still to come.
Well, I think that what we saw yesterday...
Still to come. Still to come. Still to come.
Still ahead.
Yeah, still to come. So should celebrities stay out of politics, in particular, our dear friend Gary Lineker? Yes.
Interesting debate, that one. But though the King and Queen have visited the City of Culture, it's Bradford, of course. We just told you about it. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some top European holiday destinations.
That was smooth.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome to your holiday sun forecast, and there will be some sunshine for Italy following some unsettled weather this week. Blustery showers, though, pushing into Greece, some heavy downpours and strong winds. That eases away over the next few days, and we're seeing the last of the showers clear southern Italy, with plenty of sunny spells returning. Spain and Portugal, perhaps the places to be. Plenty of dry weather, some patchy cloud, otherwise largely sunny skies. A few showers for Italy, but most places looking good into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
OK, as we just slightly had a tease of, the Prime Minister is meeting world leaders at the European Political Community Summit in Albania.
Now, the event is sure to focus on Ukraine and Russia, peace talks alongside security, democracy and migration.
We'll have more of that very shortly. It was an interesting reboot, wasn't it, from the Albanian PM, Keir Starmer talking
embarrassing.
About... It was embarrassing.
It was actually funny, but it's his own fault because he scrapped Rwanda. I know they're not the same thing, but he scrapped Rwanda. Catherine Forster will be bringing us more.
Yes. After the break, we will be getting stuck into that Gary Lineker story. Of course, he's been under fire for his comments and posts, I guess, on anti-Semitism. He's apologised for that, but the big debate is, Nana, should celebrities get involved in politics? Back in just a tick.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Health programme that turns back the clock. Promethean Longevity is a wellness company with a difference. Using a combination of science and fitness, it aims to reduce people's biological age.
We take their initial tests and work out their biological age, and we take a history of their exercise, what they're eating, and then we make a bespoke programme that's kind of personalised to each participant, and that will guide them through 6 weeks of diet. Everything that they eat will be planned. Their exercise is planned. We can help with supplements, anti-aging protocols for things like sleep, skincare, kind of all aspects of ageing, really.
It comes as life expectancy in Yorkshire is one of the lowest in the country, according to the ONS.
Well, a man born in Yorkshire can expect to live almost a decade, well, in certain parts of Yorkshire, let's be more specific, can expect to live a decade less than someone born in certain parts of the south. That's pretty significant. People in Yorkshire can expect to be in poor health for the last 20 years of their life. And England as a whole, I mean, for one of the richest nations in the world, we lag behind Europe in terms of life expectancy and health expectancy, which is really the crucial thing to us, really. It's not about how many years you live. It's about living those years with some kind of quality of life.
62-year-old Debbie Shaw reduced her biological age by 17 years on Promethean Longevity's 6-week programme.
I lost 1.5 stone on their diet, and that's
that's something that I just kind of accepted was older age. I'm a menopausal woman and we put weight on. I started off at 56 and I ended up at 39. And I feel 39 again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
So good morning to you. Sir Keir Starmer is still in Albania this morning as he prepares to enter into talks with up to 9 countries about plans to deport failed asylum seekers. Now, at the same time, the Prime Minister, alongside 40 other world leaders, will come together for the European Political Community Summit. Sir Keir Starmer was speaking to reporters in Albania a few moments ago.
Sir Keir Starmer, on behalf of the UK broadcasters, what can you realistically do on Russia, given the problems we have overnight?
Well, I think that what we saw yesterday and overnight is yet more evidence that Putin is not serious about peace. He's been dragging his heels, and I think it's really important, therefore, that we have absolute unity with our allies. We'll be working on that again today to be clear that there must be a ceasefire, but also to be clear that should there not be a ceasefire, then we will act together in relation to sanctions. But for me, this is clear evidence that Putin doesn't seriously want peace. He's dragging his heels, and that's why today is a really important opportunity to work with colleagues to make sure that we are absolutely united. And President Zelensky will be here today, so we will be discussing the situation with him.
On the Brexit reset, how are the talks going? Will you have talks on the sidelines ahead of the Monday summit?
Well, in the last 2 weeks, you've seen the UK do a trade deal with India, really important for our country and our national interest. Trade deal with the US, again important for our country and national interest. I'm positive going into Monday, and I think that this is an important moment for our country that will be measured in the benefits to working people and their living standards. But we're positive as we go into the summit on Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get over the thorny issues.
All right, let's get more from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Good morning, Catherine. He likes to get around abroad, doesn't he, our Prime Minister?
Globetrotter.
A globetrotter, indeed. He's got a few issues on his plate. Should we talk about asylum first? What's the difference between Rwanda and the situation he's pushing for, Keir Starmer, of a return hub? What's the difference?
Yes, that's a great question, but I think they are fundamentally entirely different, because the Conservatives' plan, they said, was if you break into the country by crossing the channel illegally, you will be sent on a one-way ticket to Rwanda. You will not be coming back. You will not be staying in the United Kingdom. Now, of course, the government spent £700 million. They only got 4 volunteers off, and Labour came in and scrapped it, saying it was a gimmick. We will never know whether or not it would have worked. Because, of course, there were so many legal challenges. The Tories say it would. Mark Harper, the former Tory immigration minister I spoke to about this for GB News yesterday, he says that the government are now realising that it was a terrible mistake to scrap it. But what the government are looking at is return hubs. So, yes, they would be abroad, but the difference really ends there, because these would only be used after people had had their asylum claims processed in the UK, and only if they failed and they'd exhausted all avenues of trying to get to stay would they be sent to these return hubs abroad. So it would not be the same sort of deterrent as Rwanda would be, but of course better than nothing. I think worth saying that the Prime Minister has definitely been on something of a journey with this. Before the election, I asked him for GB News about offshore processing. He really didn't want to talk about it at all. I talked to him again in Rome, where he went with Giorgia Meloni last September, and said, look, where's your deterrent? At that point, he said, well, the deterrent is smashing the gangs. Well, first of all, that's proving very difficult. Second of all, the numbers are up significantly at a record high this year on where they were last year. So clearly what they're doing at the moment is not going to cut it on its own. And they realise that if they don't get these numbers down and legal migration to, well, reform, possibly going to eat them alive, as they did recently in the local elections.
It is interesting because it's clear now, because the Labour Party seem to be completely against the idea of anything offshore, and now it feels like they are actually backtracking. Sir Keir Starmer yesterday was slightly embarrassed. Can you tell us what happened there? Because I know he was talking to the Albanian Prime Minister. What was it? What did Keir Starmer say, and what happened there?
Yes, so Number 10 have said they're looking at returns hubs in unnamed countries. And he mentioned this at the press conference with Edi Rama, the Albanian Prime Minister. And the Albanian Prime Minister made it very clear at the press conference that they have an agreement with Italy. He said they're married to Italy in this and they're not interested in doing any sort of deal with anybody else. So it was ruled out that Albania might be one of those countries. Now, Number 10 will say there's nothing to see here. But of course, I think the optics of that are pretty difficult, and it's made for some pretty awkward front pages.
Right, Catherine Foster, thank you so much for that. Right, breaking news. 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died in Bicester, Oxfordshire. This is a beautiful place, Oxfordshire, actually, but that's what has happened.
Yes, 2 other firefighters are seriously injured in hospital after the fire at a former RAF base. 10 fire crews attended the major incident at Bicester Motion after they were called to the scene at 6:39 p.m. last night. The fire is now under control, but sadly, as Nana just said, 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died following a large fire. It's at the former RAF base, Bicester Motion. The Chief Fire Officer, Rob McDougall, has said it's with a heavy heart that we today report the loss of our 2 firefighters. More of that as the story develops.
Yeah. Apparently 10 fire and rescue crews were called to tackle the fire, which prompted a major response. All right, we'll stay with us because we'll have the latest from court as a man is charged with arson after a series of fires linked to the Prime Minister.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Back in just a tick. Here's, though, your weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. This extraordinarily dry, warm and sunny spring continues. Widespread blue skies for the rest of Friday. Some cloud in the east, not perhaps as extensive as it has been on certain mornings through the week, but it could well persist across that east coast through the day, coming and going as the hours wind by. And elsewhere across the UK, well, it's virtually cloud-free skies, and under the strong mid-May sunshine, temperatures will reach 23 Celsius towards the southwest, 21 there for parts of Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it's going to be much cooler on the east coast, where we've got the cloud and a cool breeze from the North Sea. That cloud just lapping onto the shore of eastern Scotland, affecting Shetland from time to time as well. But otherwise, as we end the day, it's clear skies across much of Scotland, northwest England, into Northern Ireland. Still feeling warm at 6 p.m, still high teens, low 20s widely. Wales, the Midlands, southern England, it's the same story. Clear skies, feeling warm as the sun goes down. But after sunset, well, as temperatures fall away, the cloud in the east will creep back inland and perhaps becoming rather extensive during the early hours. A few drizzly showers possible as well for parts of southeast Scotland and northeast England. Temperatures dipping to 7 to 10 degrees, although a little lower for some sheltered parts of central Scotland. Then we start off the day on Saturday with a lot of low cloud, a rather grey picture across much of England and East Wales. Rather quickly across western areas that cloud will retreat, but patches could remain through the Midlands and eastern England into the afternoon. Nevertheless, widespread sunny skies by the end of the afternoon break out, and it's similar temperatures, 20 to 23 Celsius, feeling very warm.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Drivers on the A9 northbound should proceed with caution due to a broken down vehicle at Broxton roundabout. In both directions, the M4 at Wenalt Road Overbridge is closed for structural inspections, with diversions in place. In Walsall, the M6 southbound has one of 3 lanes closed between Junction 9 and Junction 8 due to another broken down vehicle, causing a 20-minute delay. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services are facing disruptions between Wolverhampton and Stafford, as well as Birmingham New Street. Services at Southampton Central are also affected. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness. That's wonderful. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It is fast approaching 10 o'clock on Friday, the 16th of May. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Akwe.
Very good morning to you. Hope you're well. A 21-year-old Ukrainian man has been charged in connection with a series of fires which seemingly targeted the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. We'll have all the latest from court this morning.
I have been very clear since day one when we started this process with Italy that this was a one-off.
Yes, Labour migration plan derailed. Sir Keir Starmer's offshore asylum plan may be in jeopardy as Albania rules out hosting more processing centres, distancing itself from the Prime Minister's proposals.
Keir Starmer's phrase that he used endlessly before and during the election campaign about smash the gangs was just that, a phrase. Complete nonsense, hasn't had any impact, and they haven't been able to reduce the flow of people coming across the channel.
Yes, as senior Tories hit out at Labour's plan for return hubs, we're asking this morning, what is offshore processing? How does it differ from the Rwanda scheme? And, most importantly, will you, the taxpayer, end up footing the bill?
Of course we will. Royals in Westminster. The King and the Prince of Wales will attend the Order of the Bath service at Westminster Abbey. But what's its significance?
What the hell just happened?
Could be the tune from the last couple of years, eh? What the hell just happened? Eurovision. Tomorrow night, we'll look ahead to the big event and find out whether we stand a chance of topping the charts or being hit with the dreaded nil point.
Well, it's an awful song, I'm sorry. But what, with such great musicians in this country, and I'm not dissing these poor three girls that have got this awful thing to sing, but I can't see that winning. I don't mean to be cruel as well, because I want us to win, but why are we putting that out?
I don't think it's that bad. It's
awful.
It's generic pop, and I mean, aren't all the entries generic pop? But the thing is,
well, they're not though, aren't they?
Even if we had an absolute Bobby Belter of an entrance an entry. It's all political, so I don't think particularly the Europeans like us for Brexit.
No,
whatever
it's not
else.
true. Because,
I don't think we'd ever win.
No, because remember the time when Ukraine won, and then Sam, was it Sam? What's the guy? That guy who with the long hair. He came second, and he was amazing. The song was amazing. It was undeniable. The song was amazing. Ukraine wasn't just a good song, but it was an emotional moment, which is why they won, and the United Kingdom came second. But for goodness' sake, that.
I think there's better things to do on a Saturday night, Nana.
Like what?
I don't know, there's a show between 9 and 11 p.m. called Ben Leo Tonight. It's pretty good. We've got some great stories, some exclusives. I think it's better than yours.
Is that the brilliant show by the other half of Ben Anna?
I think it is. I think you should tune in if you're watching at home.
Right, well, send us your thoughts, your comments, gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news with Sophia Hill.
Nana, Ben, thank you. Very good morning. It's 3 minutes past 10. These are your latest headlines. Now, we start with some breaking news this morning. 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died, and 2 firefighters are seriously injured after a fire at former RAF base in Bicester, according to Oxford City Council. Flames broke out overnight at the former RAF base, prompting a large emergency response with 10 fire crews. Earlier warnings for nearby residents to stay indoors have now been lifted and roads have been reopened. The Motoring and Aviation Centre, home to over 50 classic cars and engineering businesses, will remain closed through the weekend. And Sir Keir Starmer continues day 2 of talks with the Albanian Prime Minister to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. The PM is now looking to reset relations with the EU.
Well, in the last 2 weeks, you've seen the UK do a trade deal with India, really important for our country and our national interest. Trade deal with the US, again, important for our country and national interest. I'm positive going into Monday, and I think that this is an important moment for our country that will be measured in the benefits to working people and their living standards. But we're positive as we go into the summit on Monday.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister and European leaders will meet at a summit in Albania today to discuss how to ramp up pressure on Russia. Sir Keir Starmer has called Vladimir Putin's tactics to dither and delay intolerable, ahead of the meeting of 40 leaders in Tirana later on. A 21-year-old Ukrainian man is due in court today, charged in connection with fires at 2 properties and a car linked to the Prime Minister. Roman Lavrinovich faces 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. He was arrested at an address in south-east London in the early hours of Tuesday and charged on Thursday, according to the Met. He will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court today. A watchdog warns that law enforcement missed key chances to tackle criminal gangs smuggling migrants into the UK. Although disruptions have arisen, most organised smuggling groups aren't being actively investigated. Inspectors also found intelligence gathering on migrant arrivals is ineffective and lacks robustness. With small boat crossings described as the most dangerous and common route into the country, the report says law enforcement must do more to tackle this growing threat. MPs are deeply divided as the assistant dying bill returns to Parliament today. The proposals, backed by Dame Esther Arson and Sir Keir Starmer, would legalise assisted dying for terminally ill adults. You're seeing live pictures now from inside the House of Commons. Medical bodies have raised some serious concerns, with some arguing that the bill does not have enough safeguards and has been rushed through. A final vote is not expected today, with debate likely to continue for the next month. GB News spoke to former Conservative MP Mark Harper to hear his thoughts on the bill.
Prefer to call it the assisted suicide bill because that's actually what it is. I think, informed by my experience, both as an MP for many years but also as a Minister for Disabled People, I think it's very significant not a single organisation representing disabled people supports this bill. And my worry about it is that vulnerable and disabled people, who in my experience often have many challenges to face, what they want is help and support to live well and live independently, and they think this fundamentally changes society's view of people that are faced with challenges.
And finally, President Donald Trump is wrapping up his Middle East trip today with a busy final stop in Abu Dhabi. He kicked off the morning at a major business forum where he pledged stronger ties between the US and the UAE. Trump announced more than $200 billion in deals, including a big push into artificial intelligence. He's now sitting down with American and Emirati business leaders for a breakfast roundtable at the presidential palace before flying back to Washington later today. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour, but now it's back to Ben and Nana.
Good morning to you. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Nana Akua. Hope you're well and you've had a good week. Some your says have come in, Nana. John, you have said... Good morning, John.
Good morning,
a loyal viewer of Britain's Newsroom.
Good morning.
You said, Banana, I'm very glad I gave you the brilliant nickname. And don't worry, Ben, I will be watching tomorrow night. Eurovision, too political now. Nana, you should put yourself forward for next year's competition.
Well, do you know what? Having seen what's out there, I'd probably stand a chance of winning.
What would you sing?
I've written a song, actually. And I can't remember what it's called now, but I wrote it a long time ago. Yes, it's called Stop the Boats Now. Stop the boat, stop.
Could you imagine? It would probably be a... It would probably be a good tune, but what do the French would
it would be a list of slogans that have come up. So we've had Stop the Boats, Smash the Gangs, Stop the Boats, Smash the Gangs, and there'll be a few more of them.
Fixing the foundations.
And then there'll be like a little bit of fixing the foundation.
Foundation.
And there'll be lots of other politicians who've said that in there. So it'll be like a rap mixture, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. You could have some acapellas of Keir Starmer saying, not on my watch, it's time to crack down on the gangs.
Yeah, it'll be... You remember that song 19 by Paul Hardcastle? It'll be kind of like have that flavour to it. You know?
Yeah.
I think that would be...
Well, let us know how you get on. If there's anybody who's got studio space that you can rent out to Nana so we can start prepping for next year's Eurovision, we'll see how we get on.
I think it'll go down well. We'll obviously get nil point, but...
You would?
But it'll be for all other reasons than the fact that the song will be brilliant.
Could you imagine if the UK had an entrant called Stop the Boats at Eurovision, which, of course, is very left-leaning, absolutely woke, you know. Goodness me.
But Smash the Gangs possibly would go down better with them, so perhaps we'll call it Smash the Gangs instead, because they would obviously have to agree with that notion.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting concept. Elsewhere, Saul, you have said, did Starmer ask the Albanian Prime Minister to take back the 10,000 of his gangster citizens that are in UK prisons, or did he forget? Very good point. Stephen raised the point on Breakfast this morning, said to, was it Bridget Phillipson on Breakfast, who said, you know, why are you waiting for these criminals to finish their terms before deporting them? We need prison space. Just get them out.
Well, this is interesting here. The Lady of the House said last night on Patrick Christie's show, and I've got to say, Patrick did a phenomenal job. He really did, going back there. It was so good. It was just gripping. You had to watch that. If you missed it, GB News, download the GB News app. It's completely free and you can check out all the programmes. But last night on his show, he showed an immigrant, from Lady of the House, dancing in his hotel, brand new top-quality clothes, including a T-shirt with a Union Jack, really showing off his brand new teeth that have cost thousands, all on the taxpayers. I had a dental bill last week of £675, one filling and a crown. That's 3 weeks state pension payment. All of this needs investigating. I'm with you 100%. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And when also parts of it, what I thought was fascinating the night before, when Patrick showed them in the tents that the French provide. So it's like an air hanger with tents. Perfectly fine. We could do something similar. And he said that every single one of those people in there wants to come to Britain. And that...
Yeah, because they've got this conception, as Patrick highlighted, that the UK is the land of milk and honey. And to be fair to the migrants, they're not half wrong. As you just said, you get dentistry, you get NHS, you get a hotel room with Wi-Fi, you get spending money from the Home Office, you get free bus passes into
consoles,
town,
all sorts of
TVs
things.
and games consoles. So, you know...
Well, in my Eurovision song, it will have all of that in there.
Yeah, good stuff. You've set the bar now. Right,
really
let's move on. MPs are debating the assisted dying bill in Parliament today in a bid to legalise assisted dying in England and Wales for the first time.
Now, the bill passed the first stage of the Commons last November, but since then, amendments have been made to it.
Well, let's get more from our political correspondent, Catherine Forster. Catherine, welcome back. What's the latest on this, please?
Yes, well, it's packed in the House of Commons, which is unusual because usually MPs are in their constituencies on a Friday, but hundreds of them are here and over 90 want to speak on this because obviously it is literally a matter of life and death, and opinions are very strong on both sides. It's worth saying that the bill is fundamentally quite different to how it was back in November when it passed with a majority of 55, because what Kim Leadbeater, the bill's sponsor, had championed as the safest, safeguards in the world with this High Court judge that would have to approve individual applications. That has been dropped. Now, she has said it's because it's to make it even stronger with what she calls now an expert panel, which will have a psychiatrist, a social worker and a legal expert on it to approve these applications, along with a couple of doctors who will separately have to OK it. She says that makes it even stronger, but critics say that basically the High Court judge part was only dropped because the judicial system simply doesn't have the capacity. Now, it's worth saying that although it's a private member's bill and MPs can vote according to their conscience, it's happening because the Prime Minister made a promise to Esther Rantzen, who is terminally ill with lung cancer. So her supporters are out in full this morning, but critics are very, very worried. Yesterday, I spoke to Lord Harper, who was formerly Disabilities Minister. Let's have a look at some of what he had to say. Lord Harper, you were a Conservative MP for 20 years. The assisted dying bill is back in Parliament. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, look, I think, first of all, we should be honest about what what the proposal is here, which is why I prefer to call it the assisted suicide bill, because that's actually what it is. I think, informed by my experience, both as an MP for many years, but also as a Minister for Disabled People, I think it's very significant not a single organisation representing disabled people supports this bill. And my worry about it is that vulnerable and disabled people, who in my experience often have many challenges to face, what they want is help and support to live well and live independently. And they think this fundamentally changes society's view of people that are faced with challenges. And so my view is it's a disaster waiting to happen, especially for disabled people, which is why I very much hope the House of Commons, when it gets the opportunity, rejects the bill.
Worth saying, not just disability groups who are opposed. The Royal College of Psychiatrists have said that it can't support the bill in its current form. It's got serious concerns. The Royal College of Physicians have also talked about concerning deficiencies as the bill currently is, and palliative care experts, the people, of course, who care for people at the end of life, are opposed. Also, of course, palliative care at the end of life, only a third of that is funded by the government. It's underfunded. It's not as good as it should be. But assisted dying will be funded by the NHS. Now, ultimately, the impact assessment shows that it will save the NHS money, but many people worried about the effect on vulnerable people who may feel that they're a burden or may feel coerced into taking that option.
All right, Catherine Forster, thank you so much. MPs are debating the assisted dying bill in Parliament. Let's have a listen in. We've had a bit of technical issues there, but we'll try and bring you what they're saying. But the bill passed the first stage of the Commons last November, But since then, amendments have been made to it.
What's your thoughts, Nana, on assisted dying?
Well, look, one of the big amendments was, I mean, they were basically saying that they dropped the Crown prosecution element of it, so the CPS wouldn't get involved in it, obviously because there's a massive backlog, so that just really showed that they hadn't really thought the thing through. Then they were going to use 2 psychiatrists and all this kind of thing, which to me doesn't work, because we know that if you want a sick note, you can just tell the doctor and they'll do whatever you ask. The other thing was the palliative care element, which obviously a third, as Catherine said, is funded by privately, and then a third is funded privately, I think it is, and then we, the taxpayers, pay the rest. In every country that assisted dying exists, palliative care has suffered. So, and the final one was the fact that the GPs would offer this as an option, and that was an amendment that they demanded be addressed.
Yeah, such a contentious debate, isn't it? I just don't know what to think about it. My initial thoughts were you wouldn't leave an animal in that state. Why would you force a human being to suffer the last days of their lives in pain and indignity? So why not? But then I start looking at countries like Canada, where the argument is, you know, they are essentially putting people to sleep to save money, to free up housing. That's what fierce critics of assisted dying say. So I just don't know. You're essentially, I don't know. It's so hard.
I think it's really straightforward. I think in hospitals it does exist in a sense anyway.
Yeah.
So if someone is too sick, the GPs, the doctors need to work out who they need to prioritise. And if it's not you, then unfortunately, as with COVID and all that, you know, remember with the respirators and things like that, doctors are making these decisions every day in any case. But for me, the comparison that you made with an animal isn't quite right, because in most cases the animal doesn't know about the options, and humans do, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on individuals to think, oh, maybe I'll be a burden, oh, maybe I should just get out of it now, oh, am I? And I think that's unfair to people at the last.
And also, in some examples, you're guaranteed to have some families who are itching, I'll just say it outright, quite frankly, who are itching for the inheritance, you know, they're just plotting and scheming. I know people like that.
Well, when money is involved, people behave very strangely.
Yeah, indeed. Right, still ahead, we'll have more on that story on the front page of The Sun, of the Taxigate, they're calling it, with David Lammy. Here it is. An absolute mess on the back seat of the taxi, but all maybe not be as it seems. The Foreign Secretary accused of saying effing French to the taxi driver, but we learned this morning that the taxi driver did try charging him £600 more for the fare once he realised who he was.
Well, also he tried to drive away. He drove away with this stuff, and I'm sure that the words that I would use if somebody did that may well be stronger.
And he's been arrested for theft, the taxi driver.
Yeah, because it took him a day to return them. But then he may not have known that the things were in the back of the car. That can happen.
Yeah.
But stay with us. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, what happened was the Queen didn't strip Harry and Meghan of their HRH titles, because that would have been unnecessarily unkind. But she asked them, please do not use these. You keep them, but don't use them. And what she meant by that was don't use them in any public way whatsoever. So do not, have your luggage labels HRH, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and don't have your writing paper. They have their coat of arms. They are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, but not with the HRH. I think that Meghan is very lucky to still have hers.
Yeah, well, in a lot of ways she is, absolutely. But it doesn't seem to be any self-awareness, does there, with this podcast? It's all about woe betide me. It was all so difficult. We were in the trenches after we got married. And if we all cast our minds back to that spectacular day where they had everything in front of them, the world was watching, the world was celebrating, everyone was on team Meghan and Harry. But it's only now that she's in California living her best life that she's able to have her honeymoon, apparently. What do you make of it, Ingrid?
can't believe she could say such crazy things. I mean, if she wants to maintain some semblance of popularity, she's got to be a little bit more humble. And what she could have easily said, the wedding was absolutely stupendous and it was wonderful and the British people were so welcoming, but sadly it didn't work out. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to say that, even if she didn't mean it. I just think that she is sometimes remarkably stupid.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 10:21. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom, and we're also joined by the GP and medical writer Dr. Renee Honderkamp and the former Labour MP and Armed Forces Minister, no less, Bill Rammell. Good morning to you both.
Good to see you.
Good morning. Right, what do you want to start with? Should we do the first one, which is talks with up to 9 nations for an asylum deal? Britain is poised to enter formal talks, apparently, but we saw what went on with Keir Starmer when he entered some informal, well, it was formal or informal, and he mentioned it, and it was quite clear that the Albanians went up for it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things wrong with this. The first thing wrong with this is that hardly anyone gets refused asylum once they've gone through 15 appeals or however many they have. So we're going to send back, if we send anyone, 10 people. The second thing is the money that's going to be spent on this. We wasted £750 million that the Tories spent on Rwanda, and yes, you could argue that they wasted it, but as we'd spent it, why didn't we just try it and see before we scrapped it and then decided to spend more money on this rubbish? It's infuriating.
Because the bottom line is, with these return hubs, they actually have to come to the UK anyway. We'll still pay all the legal bills and everything else as they're appealing. It's only at the very, very, very last minute that if they may get sent back. Bill Rammell.
With respect, I disagree. I think this is really worth pursuing because this offshore sending of people who failed the asylum process, it gives us a means to remove them from the country. 2, it will act as a deterrent. This is not the same as Rwanda.
Why?
Because Rwanda was overturned.
A deterrent?
Rwanda was overturned by the courts, not just European courts, but British courts, because of sending people to a country with major human rights concerns. It also it didn't work as a deterrent because only about 100 people would have been sent.
It hadn't started. It hadn't started.
Yeah, it was working.
It was scalable.
If you looked at the estimates, it wasn't scalable, and that was the maximum number of people.
But the point is, it's a deterrent, so you don't need loads of things, loads of spaces for people in a deterrent, and it was absolutely scalable. But the point is, it was a deterrent, and we had Patrick Cressy interviewing migrants who were waiting for Keir Starmer to take office so they could cross the Channel, and that's from their own mouth, saying that they're put off by Rwanda.
I don't think it was ever going to be a long-term deterrent.
But you don't know, do you?
You don't know. But hold on. Another difference between that scheme and what is being explored at the moment is that this is actually backed by the UN Commissioner for Refugees, which protects you from legal challenge.
But doesn't the UN also use Rwanda anyway? The United Nations, you have used Rwanda as a processing centre and a place to
keep
send
girls in Afghanistan who are in danger.
So Rwanda is used by the UN, the very people you're quoting.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. This just wasn't just European courts, it was British courts who overturned it because of the human rights concerns. My concern about this is actually the time scale, and I think we need this to be brought forward. I don't know what happened with Albania. My understanding is Albania wasn't credibly in the running. And it just underlines one of my beefs about the government after 9 months, that the communications is bluntly not effective.
Bill, can I ask you, we had a discussion last weekend about Keir Starmer. I suggested he was reacting to Reform's election result. You said, no, they've had this white paper in the pipeline for 6 months. Yeah. But it's clear since the election 2 weeks ago or so, Keir Starmer's tweeted about migration 15 times. He's talking about getting tough, I won't stand for it, this and that. You have to concede he is He is trying to... My introduction on my show was about them copying reform. You have to concede slightly, I beg you, please, that Keir Starmer is reacting to reform with this kind of rhetoric.
On tone, you may be right, but on substance, not. You know, go back to the manifesto, and nothing got into the Labour manifesto without Keir Starmer's explicit endorsement, and there's a clear commitment to reduce net migration and to wean us off a reliance on foreign workers. That's built into the party's prospectus for power. And all the measures that have been taken, the chair of the Migration Advisory Committee estimates by 2028 net migration will be down to 240,000 from almost 1 million that we inherited. Now, if that is achieved, we can have a debate about is that the right level, do we need to go further? But it will be light years better than the situation we inherited.
It will be. I mean, my other issue with this is the moment we let these people into our country to wander amongst the countryside and wherever they want to go, A, they can just disappear, which many of them do, but B, within the 10 years that it takes them to appeal, they meet people, they have families, and then that gives them their final claim to stay right to a family life. We have to stop this.
They shouldn't be here in the first place.
Look, Bill, it's costing a fortune.
Hold on. Right to a family life. One of the very welcome changes within the White Paper is reframing Article 8, which is the element of the European Convention on Human Rights that leads to these ludicrous rulings like you're allowed to stay in the country because your kids like chicken nuggets. That is unacceptable, and it's part of the way that we tackle this problem.
All right, let's talk about the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. Apparently he yelled F French at me, says the cab driver. Foreign Secretary, apparently said it twice over a furious row, over a taxi fare.
I don't believe it for a minute.
What bit don't you believe?
That he yells effing French.
Well, he might have done. If I drove away with all your stuff in the back of my car, you might say something like that.
Well, I know David Lammy, and I don't believe he would have done that. However...
I believe he would have done that.
David and his wife were bluntly the victims of a scam and a crime. They agreed a price, and the Foreign Office officials who were accompanying him agreed a price at the beginning of the journey. At the end of the journey, because the driver had worked out who Lammy was, he tried to charge him £600.
But what's he doing? Getting the equivalent of an Uber?
Right, and that's the point I would go on to make. I was a Foreign Office Minister for 3 years. Regularly overseas, I would have protection officers with me, and certainly the Foreign Secretary, even in this country, had protection officers. And I don't know why or how David was allowed to go on a 600-mile journey on his own.
Well, whether he was allowed to or not, it's his ultimate decision, isn't it, Renee? You can't blame your officials. Oh, they let me get on the equivalent of an Uber.
But it does just show the appalling decision-making that we're seeing day in, day out from this government. And actually, it also shows appalling decision-making from David Lammy, because if that was me and the taxi driver had said, I want another £600, I would have said, oh, OK, I just need to get my bags out the boot because that's where my cash is. Then I would have had my bags when I said to him, no, actually, I'm not going to pay you the extra money.
The guy had been flashing his knife during the...
Allegedly.
No, he said that was a pen.
Allegedly.
The guy said that was a pen that he was using, so it may not have been a knife.
Well, that's not... you are giving credibility...
I'm not giving credibility, I'm just giving the other... Sorry, no, hold on. I'm just balancing the story.
OK.
You called it a knife, he called it a pen.
I would fundamentally challenge his credibility, because this is a guy who's been convicted through the courts for his actions. You know, I don't think this is...
Convicted of this?
He's in the process of being convicted.
He's been arrested.
Well, he hasn't been convicted, he's been charged. As we know from lots of things, lots of people get charged with things that they never, ever go to court over and never, you know, get convicted of. And don't forget, this is a foreign country who's now thinking, oh, Lord, we've got the British Foreign Minister here. Let's act tough. Let's charge that taxi driver.
And also, it's a bit unfair balancing off credibilities by saying, oh, who would you trust, a taxi driver who once went to prison or David Lammy, Foreign Secretary? I don't think that's relevant. What actually happened is the only information that we need to know.
The courts take account of the credibility of witnesses all the time in regional
well, they would do, but on this occasion, that's got nothing to do with it. It's not fair, is it? I mean, my fiancé, he went to prison many, many years ago. Why would something that he'd done many, many years ago after he's turned his life out be relevant right now? You don't know that, so I think that that's unfair, an unfair level of comparison.
This whole conversation, whether he said this or did that, or did he leave the back seat in a right mess, shouldn't be happening in the first place, because, Bill, as you said, he shouldn't have been getting an Uber.
Yeah, why did he get on a train?
As you said, Renee, it just underlines the... I mean, it's quite
bad
incompetence,
stupidity. Can we squeeze in this one? Children to be taught to show some more grit. Bridget Phillipson, who's been on the rounds this morning. Did she go on GB News? I didn't hear her.
I mean, firstly, I think Bridget Phillipson is one of the worst education secretaries we've ever seen, and I think what she's doing to education is to destroy it, but that's another discussion. The way that you teach children grit is you allow them to experience things that is going to make them unhappy, uncomfortable, and they're going to have to overcome it. Yeah. It's this helicopter parenting, it's schools as well, it's parenting and schools and society.
He's one of them. He's a helicopter parent.
No.
Were you accused of being a helicopter parent, though, weren't you?
No,
this was over tennis, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just skulking the side of the court to make sure he was OK. I was saying, come on, Jude, boy, you know. He needs to experience failure.
Then your little propellers came out and hovered over him.
No, I never protect them from sadness or failure. Or
There's a sad fact that if children climb trees, if we let them, they learn to mitigate their risk. Unfortunately, very, very rarely, one of them will fall out and get a serious head injury or die. That is terrible, but that is the only way that they learn how dangerous it is to do things and to cope with life.
Yeah, indeed.
And this, I think this is absolutely right as a way forward. And you link it with the fact that there's now 20% in some cases school absences because kids have got mental health problems.
Yeah,
it's just not right.
Yeah, failure is all a part of winning eventually. Anyway,
first attempt in learning, FAIL, fail.
Ooh, I like that. Full of wisdom.
Yeah.
Just talking of the David Lammy story, the Foreign Office said we totally refute these allegations from the French taxi driver. The fare was paid in full. The Foreign Secretary and his wife are named as victims in this matter, and the driver has been charged with theft.
Right, we'll stay with us. Loads more still to come. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Nana, thank you. Very good morning. It's 10:31. These are your latest headlines. Now we start with some breaking news. 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died and 2 firefighters are seriously injured after a fire at a former RAF base in Bicester, according to Oxford City Council. The flames broke out overnight at the base, prompting a large emergency response with 10 fire crews. Earlier warnings for residents to stay indoors have now been lifted and roads have reopened. The Motoring and Aviation Centre, home to over 50 classics cars and engineering businesses, will remain closed through the weekend. Sir Keir Starmer continues day 2 of the talks with the Albanian Prime Minister to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. The PM is now looking to reset relations with the EU.
Well, in the last 2 weeks, you've seen the UK do a trade deal with India, really important for our country and our national interest. Trade deal with the US, again, important for our country and national interest. I'm positive going into Monday, and I think that this is an important moment for our country that will be measured in the benefits to working people and their living standards. But we're positive as we go into the summit on Monday.
Meanwhile, the PM and European leaders will meet at a summit in Albania today to discuss how to ramp up pressure on Russia. Sir Keir Starmer has called Vladimir Putin's tactics to dither and delay intolerable ahead of the meeting of 40 leaders in Tirana today. Now, a 21-year-old Ukrainian man is due in court today, charged in connection with fires at 2 properties and a car linked to the Prime Minister. Roman Lavrinovich faces 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. He was arrested at an address in south-east London in the early hours of Tuesday and charged on Thursday, according to the Met Police. He will appear at Westminster Magistrates' Court today. And President Donald Trump is wrapping up his Middle East trip today with a busy final stop in Abu Dhabi. He kicked off the morning at a major business forum where he pledged stronger ties between the US and the UAE. Trump announced more than $200 billion in deals, including a big push into artificial intelligence. He's now sitting down with American and Emirati business leaders for a breakfast roundtable at the presidential palace before flying back to Washington later on today. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Done. My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.330 and 1.187 euros. The price of gold is £2,411.20 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,672 points.
Done.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Sophia. Big question this morning, Nana. Should celebrities get involved in politics?
Well, listen, I don't care if they get involved in politics, but we're talking Gary Lineker here.
There he is.
I only care if he works for the BBC and licence fee payers are paying for him. At that point, then, no, he should close his mouth. And then if he doesn't want his £1.3 million salary paid for by us, the general public, through a licence fee, then he should just leave.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why he's still at the BBC, to be honest. No. But anyway, Anne Widdecombe and Julie Cook are here imminently to debate that. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Back in a sec.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. This extraordinarily dry, warm and sunny spring continues. Widespread blue skies for the rest of Friday. Some cloud in the east, not perhaps as extensive as it has been on certain mornings through the week, but it could well persist across that east coast through the day, coming and going as the hours wind by. And elsewhere across the UK, well, it's virtually cloud-free skies, and under the strong mid-May sunshine, temperatures will reach 23 Celsius towards the southwest, 21 there for parts of Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it's going to be much cooler on the east coast, where we've got the cloud and a cool breeze from the North Sea. That cloud just lapping onto the shore of eastern Scotland, affecting Shetland from time to time as well. But otherwise, as we end the day, it's clear skies across much of Scotland, northwest England into Northern Ireland. Still feeling warm at 6 p.m, still high teens, low 20s widely. Wales, the Midlands, southern England, it's the same story. Clear skies, feeling warm as the sun goes down. But after sunset, well, as temperatures fall away, the cloud in the east will creep back inland and perhaps becoming rather extensive during the early hours. A few drizzly showers possible as well for parts of southeast Scotland and northeast England. Temperatures dipping to 7 to 10 degrees, although a little lower for some sheltered parts of central Scotland. Then we start off the day on Saturday with a lot of low cloud, a rather grey picture across much of England and East Wales. Rather quickly across western areas, that cloud will retreat, but patches could remain through the Midlands and eastern England into the afternoon. Nevertheless, widespread sunny skies by the end of the afternoon break out, and it's similar temperatures, 20 to 23 Celsius, feeling very warm.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M74 southbound at Junction 8, debris restricts the road. Exercise caution. M4 closed at the Wenault Road overbridge with diversions. In Walsall, a broken-down vehicle on the M6 southbound between junctions 9 and 8 closes one lane, causing 30-minute delays. Normal conditions expected between 10:45 and 11 this morning. M5 northbound exit slip at junction 22 collision clears between 11 and 11:15. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast and cross-country services face disruptions between Wolverhampton and Stafford and Birmingham New Street. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, 10:39. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News.
Right, well, Gary Lineker, our dear friend, is no stranger to sharing his controversial political views on social media.
Yes, St Gary most recently apologised for reposting an image about Zionism that included an illustration of a rat, believe it or not.
Well, he's already had his go at me many years ago. I've never.
What did he say about you?
Well, do you not remember? He called me vile after I did something on Channel 5 on the Jeremy Vine show.
It was
just about migration and me saying we should stop the boats, and I supported a turn-back policy by Priti Patel at the time, and he did a whole thing and called me vile, and then he retweeted it, and then it suddenly went crazy. It was actually on the same day, October the 14th, that David Amos was sadly tragically killed. So
you were on a show talking talking about it, and he saw a clip
I was
online.
actually on the Jeremy Vine show. Even though I work at GBNews, I was allowed to go and do that. He then saw the clip, obviously didn't see the full context of it, and then decided to retweet it with his own comments at the end, calling me vile. And of course, from there, then of course, I then had a pile-on of people saying, "Oh yeah,
you can handle that."
I can handle it. You know, but it added death threats and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he knew that by doing what he did, that would mean that would happen, or the pile-on at least. So I wrote to the BBC saying he shouldn't be allowed to do that, because I used to work with the BBC. My contract in the terms of what I could do outside it was similar to his, so I knew full well that...
What did they say, the BBC?
Oh, no, they said, oh, no, Gary just said... I even wrote to his big boss, and his boss got back to me saying, oh, no, Gary was just expressing his opinion. And I just thought, that's the point. You're not allowed to. I left the BBC because I got in trouble for expressing my views, even on other platforms. But anyway, the Match of the Day presenter took full responsibility on this occasion for his mistake. This is the repost that he made that was seen as anti-Semitic, and he swiftly removed the post.
Can I just say, I know we need to move on with this segment, and Widdicombe's down the line, Julie Cook as well, but he quickly removed the post and admitted his mistake.
He didn't do that with me.
Lucy Connolly today is having an appeal heard at the Court of Appeal in London over her Southport tweet, which she admitted a mistake. She deleted it within 4 hours. She was sent to prison for 2.5 years. You know, Gary Lineker is accused of anti-Semitism here, and he deleted it and said, oh, sorry, mea culpa, and moved on.
Well, look, you know, the thing is, he's also, ironically, he did a piece for, I think it was The Telegraph, 4 days before this post, and that is coming out tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what he said before he knew what was going to happen. OK, let's get on with this debate. Should celebrities stay out of politics? We're joined by journalist and broadcaster Julie Cook and former Shadow Home Secretary Anne Widdicombe. Good morning, ladies. Anne, we'll start with you. Should celebrities just stick what they're best at and zip it?
No, I think it depends entirely in what way they're celebrities. If they are newsreaders or they chair debates like Question Time, then yes, I think it's essential that they maintain impartiality. But I don't think that just because somebody is well known and somebody's a celebrity and somebody is well paid, that therefore they're not entitled to political views. They are. But what if they work for the BBC, Anne, because they have a certain code of responsibility and they are told, and I know this, I have the BBC guidelines, a very, very solid, thick book that made it very clear to me that I was not to be politically posturing on any other networks and was to be remain neutral. That's a matter for the BBC. If they feel that he has broken a contract, then that is entirely a matter for the BBC. But if you want to make a general case to say celebrities shouldn't have political opinions, and that is a nonsense. I have one. I was the star of Strictly 1 year on the BBC, and I was politically pronouncing all over the place. I remember it well. You were fabulous. Julie Cook, what's your thoughts on this?
Morning. Well, I think with the Gary Lineker thing, I think he really does stand above and beyond as an example of this, of why it's so wrong. As you said, Nana, he has a huge following, huge responsibility to that following. And what he did in relation to what you said, I think is quite shocking. But also with the recent tweet that was deleted about, you know, the rat associated with anti-Semitism, I think that's absolutely horrific and should be called out. You know, he's an idol to so many people. And I agree with what Anne says in some ways. There are different degrees of celebrity. But someone of that stature who has so much say and so much responsibility as a sort of idol to so many footballing people, younger people, it's worrying that he can run his mouth and say whatever he wants.
But on this occasion, he did apologise unreservedly afterwards, even though, you know, he's obviously not here to defend himself, but he has apologised unreservedly. He's realised his error, which is actually quite rare for him, because he does never apologise about anything. So that does stand out. Do you think the fact that he works at the BBC, though, Julie, should be another thing? Because obviously he's got a massive following. He should have some sort of responsibility, just as a general thing. But the fact that he works for the BBC, is that not surely another reason why he needs to stay silent, really?
Yes, I think it is, because I think what we need to remember is the BBC is paid for by us. I think if it was any other organisation in which it was paid for in a different way, then, yeah, we don't have an opinion on that. The BBC is paid for by us, the masses, and if his contract is I must not have political opinions on X, Y and Z, and he's being paid a huge salary, let's not forget, he's not a kind of part-time... Yeah, he's not a part-time, you know, newsreader in local BBC. So I think, you know, with that comes a responsibility, and he gets away with it every time.
And Gary Lineker in the Daily Telegraph has said that the Gaza-Israel situation is so bad that he feels compelled to speak out. He says, I quote, "It's beyond depraved what the Palestinian people are going through. It's unimaginable. I don't know what how the world thinks this is OK." And he argued that the Israeli response to October the 7th, he was asked by the Telegraph, well, how would you react if you were Israel and October the 7th happened under your watch? He says the Israeli response has been completely out of proportion. And he argues that the situation is so severe, he just has to speak out. It's in his interest of humanity to speak out. That's what he says.
Well, as I say on my Substack this week, you know, first of all, does he support Hamas in not releasing the remaining hostages? And if they want a ceasefire, why don't they release the remaining hostages? Does he believe it's acceptable to have terrorist HQs underneath hospitals? You know, he doesn't actually call Hamas out. He only calls Israel out, as far as I know, anyway. I haven't seen him calling Hamas out. And so, you know, it is an unbalanced view. But your central question, is he not entitled to have his unbalanced view merely because he's a celebrity? My answer to that is no. You know, otherwise you're going to say that all the soap stars mustn't have their views. So I absolutely reject pretty well all of, not all, but pretty well all of Gary Lineker's views. But I do defend his right to speak. I believe in liberty.
Even though he works for the BBC, this is the bit I can't do. You know, he's the impartiality. They've even switched the contracts to make it easier for him to spout out. Julie Cook and Anne Widdecombe, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. In a statement, Gary Lineker said, on Instagram, I reposted material which I have since learned contained offensive references. I very much regret these references and I take full responsibility for this mistake. That image does not reflect my views. It was an error on my part for which I apologise unreservedly.
Interesting, though, because I think when he was talking to the Telegraph, because parts of the interview were played out, I think he mentioned that... well, I've just forgotten what I was going to say now. People are talking in my ears. Right, up next, we'll be crossing live to Westminster Abbey, where royal reporter Cameron Walker is there.
Yes, the King and the Prince of Wales putting on a united front just weeks after Prince Harry's bombshell BBC interview. The weather here is beautiful in central London, but if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for the top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome to your holiday sun forecast, and there will be some sunshine for Italy following some unsettled weather this week. Blustery showers, though, pushing into Greece, some heavy downpours and strong winds. That eases away over the next few days, and we're seeing the last of the showers clear southern Italy, with plenty of sunny spells returning. Spain and Portugal, perhaps the places to be. Plenty of dry weather, some patchy cloud, otherwise largely sunny skies. A few showers for Italy, but most places looking good into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning, 51 minutes after 10 o'clock. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Akua.
Morning, hope you're well. Thank you for your company. Now, today the King and Prince of Wales are due to attend the Order of the Bath at Westminster Abbey for its 300th anniversary.
The event will mark King Charles's first service of sovereign, where Prince William will become Great Master of the Order.
Interesting. Well, joining us now from Westminster Abbey is our man on the ground, royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Cameron, good morning. For those who don't know what this event is, what is the Order of the Bath?
Very good question, Ben. Well, it's the 300th anniversary, as you said, this year. It dates back to George I back in 1725, where he wanted to revive an old Middle Age custom where all the knights would literally take a bath, which was meant to symbolise spiritual connection with God, essentially. So that's why it takes place. It happens every 4 years. The Prince of Wales usually attends every single service. The King, as sovereign, attends once every 8 years. But this is the first time that King Charles is going to be here as sovereign, and as you said, he's going to be investing his son Prince William as the Great Master of the Order. Now, of course, what this shows is the King and the Prince of Wales really putting on a united front, or reminding us that they're putting on a united front, just weeks after Prince Harry's bombshell BBC interview where he admitted that King Charles does not speak to him at the moment. I understand that Prince William definitely does not speak to his brother at the moment, so of course that is all going on in the background, but what we are going to see is the King and the Prince of Wales in crimson robes get out of their cars behind me, walk into the Great West Door alongside very, very senior military officials and very senior civil servants to take part in this service here today. And of course that image of the King and Prince William inside the service is a reminder that their focus is on tradition and of course focusing on royal duties. Now, of course, the King still undergoing a weekly cycle of cancer treatment, but is carrying on with a full programme of both national and international public duties. And just in a couple of weeks' time, he will be in Canada, taking part in the state opening of Parliament there, because of course he's also head of state in Canada, despite what Donald Trump wants.
All right, Cameron Walker, thank you so much.
And the sun's shining as well. I'm glad for Cameron.
Fascinating.
He's getting a bit more of a tan. Not that he needs it.
Right, well, stay with us. Loads more still to come. We'll get more from Albania, where European leaders are meeting, including where Ukraine President Zelensky has arrived within the last few minutes. So it will be interesting.
And talking of the weather, look, it's pouring it down. Cats and dogs. I'd rather be in London than Albania.
Well, I'd rather be in London than Albania, full stop.
Any time of the year. Yeah. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News, the People's Channel. Back in just a tick. Here is your weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. This extraordinarily dry, warm and sunny spring continues. Widespread blue skies for the rest of Friday. Some cloud in the east, not perhaps as extensive as it has been on certain mornings through the week, but it could well persist across that east coast through the day, coming and going as the hours wind by. And elsewhere across the UK, well, it's virtually cloud-free skies, and under the strong mid-May sunshine, temperatures will reach 23 Celsius towards the southwest, 21 there for parts of Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it's going to be much cooler on the east coast, where we've got the cloud and a cool breeze from the North Sea. That cloud just lapping onto the shore of eastern Scotland, affecting Shetland from time to time as well. But otherwise, as we end the day, it's clear skies across much of Scotland, northwest England into Northern Ireland. Still feeling warm at 6 p.m, still high teens, low 20s widely. Wales, the Midlands, southern England, it's the same story. Clear skies, feeling warm as the sun goes down. But after sunset, well, as temperatures fall away, the cloud in the east will creep back inland and perhaps becoming rather extensive during the early hours. A few drizzly showers possible as well for parts of southeast Scotland and northeast England. Temperatures dipping to 7 to 10 degrees, although a little lower for some sheltered parts of central Scotland. Then we start off the day on Saturday with a lot of low cloud, a rather grey picture across much of England and East Wales. Rather quickly across western areas, that cloud will retreat, but patches could remain through the Midlands and eastern England into the afternoon. Nevertheless, widespread sunny skies by the end of the afternoon break out, and it's similar temperatures, 20 to 23 Celsius, feeling very warm.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Ulnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop star to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's 11 o'clock on Friday, May the 16th. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Akweer.
Good morning to you. A 21-year-old Ukrainian man has been charged in connection with a series of fires which seemingly targeted the Prime Minister. We'll have the latest from court.
I have been very clear since day one when we started this process with Italy that this was a one-off.
Labour's migration plan derailed. Sir Keir Starmer's offshore asylum plan may be in jeopardy as Albania rules out hosting more processing centres and distancing itself from the Prime Minister's proposals.
Keir Starmer's phrase that he used endlessly before and during the election campaign about smash the gangs was just that, a phrase. Complete nonsense, hasn't had any impact, and they haven't been able to reduce the flow of people coming across the channel.
So as senior Tories hit out at Labour's plan for return hubs, we ask, what is offshore processing? How does it differ from the Rwanda scheme? And most importantly, will you end up, or we end up, footing the bill?
Elsewhere, 3 people have died following a major fire in Bicester, with 2 others seriously injured. 2 of those fatalities were firefighters. We'll be speaking to eyewitnesses very shortly.
And the royals in Westminster. The King and the Prince of Wales will attend the Order of the Bath service at Westminster Abbey. But what is its significance?
Eurovision tomorrow night. Are you a fan? We'll be looking ahead to the big event and find out whether the UK stands a chance of topping the charts with this number, What the Hell Just Happened, or being hit with the dreaded nil point. Right, so you know Keir Starmer's had a bit of a chameleon transformation since the elections. He's getting tough on migration. He's tweeted about migration 14 times, I think, in the past week or so. Anyway, he's just tweeted again now. Do you want me to read it to you?
Yeah, go on.
Well, in the last hour or so. He says, if you're one of the smugglers putting people in small boats across the channel, we're coming for you.
Oh, it's very scary.
He's getting tough.
It's very scary. It's about as scary as my Stop the Boat
Do you believe him?
He doesn't know where they are. I mean, where's he going to go?
Well, Patrick found them.
Well, exactly, but isn't that funny how we can go out there, find out who they are, but somehow...
Patrick got on a 30-quid ferry and found all the camps, and they've now busted them.
It's just well done to Patrick Christie, fabulous. If you missed that, gbnews.com, check it out online via our YouTube or download the GB News app. It's completely free, and check out all the programmes at your leisure. As ever, send us your thoughts, post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. But first, let's get your latest news with Sophia Hill.
Nana, Ben, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 11 o'clock. These are your latest headlines. Start with some breaking news this morning that 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died and 2 firefighters are seriously injured after a fire at a former RAF base in Bicester. The flames broke out overnight, prompting a large emergency response with 10 fire crews. Earlier warnings for nearby residents to stay indoors have now been lifted and roads have reopened. The Prime Minister has said that this is devastating news and that it shows the bravery of our firefighters. Sir Keir Starmer continues day 2 of talks with the Albanian Prime Minister to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. The PM is looking to collaborate with other European countries to fulfil his pledge to stop the boats.
Well, in the last 2 weeks, you've seen the UK do a trade deal with India, really important for our country and our national interest. Trade deal with the US, again, important for our country and national interest. I'm positive going into Monday, and I think that this is an important moment for our country that will be measured in the benefits to working people and their living standards. But we're positive as we go into the summit on Monday.
So meanwhile, as you just saw there, the Prime Minister and other European leaders will meet at the Albanian summit today to discuss how to ramp up pressure on Russia. Sir Keir Starmer has called Vladimir Putin's tactics to dither and delay intolerable ahead of the 40 leaders meeting in Tirana today. Now, a watchdog warns that law enforcement missed key chances to tackle criminal gangs smuggling migrants into the UK. Although disruptions have risen, most organised smuggling groups aren't being actively investigated. Inspectors also found intelligence gathering on migrant arrivals is ineffective and lacks robustness. With small boat crossings described as the most dangerous and common route into the country, the report says law enforcement must do more to tackle the growing threat. 21-year-old Ukrainian man is due in court today, charged in connection with fires at 2 properties and a car linked to the Prime Minister. Roman Lavrinovich faces 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. He was arrested in south-east London in the early hours on Tuesday morning and charged on Thursday, according to the Metropolitan Police, and will appear at Westminster Magistrates' Court today. MPs are deeply divided as the assisted dying bill returns to Parliament today. The proposal, backed by Dame Esther Rantzen and Sir Keir Starmer, would legalise assisted dying for terminally ill adults. Medical bodies have raised serious concerns, some arguing that the bill does not have enough safeguards and has been rushed through. A final vote is not expected today, with debates likely to continue for the next month. GB News spoke to former Conservative MP Mark Harper to hear his thoughts on the bill.
Prefer to call it the assisted suicide bill because that's actually what it is. I think, informed by my experience, both as an MP for many years but also as a Minister for Disabled People, I think it's very significant not a single organisation representing disabled people supports this bill. And my worry about it is that vulnerable and disabled people, who in my experience often have many challenges to face, what they want is help and support to live well and live independently, and they think this fundamentally changes society's view of people that are faced with challenges.
And millions are just one bill away from crisis. That's as 1 in 4 British adults now have low financial resilience. The Financial Conduct Authority says 13.1 million people are struggling with little or no savings, rising debt or missed bills. 1 in 10 has no savings at all, and a fifth couldn't access £1,000 in an emergency, highlighting the growing strain on household finances. And finally, President Donald Trump is wrapping up his Middle East trip today with a busy final stop in Abu Dhabi. He kicked off the morning at a major business forum where he pledged stronger ties between the US and the UAE. Trump announced more than $200 billion in deals, including a push into artificial intelligence. He then went on to sit with American and Emirati business leaders for a breakfast roundtable at the presidential palace before flying back to Washington later today. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Hello, good morning and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Ben Leo and me, Nana Akua.
Good morning. Thank you for your company. Hope you've had a good week. Within the past few minutes, King Charles and Prince William have arrived at Westminster Abbey to attend a service for the Order of the Bath. Let's get more from our royal reporter, Cameron Walker, in just a tick.
So what we've got there is, where are they? They're at Westminster Abbey.
Is that William?
And that looks like William. It looks like William. He's wearing this wonderful gown with a beautiful kind of rope sort of detail at the back. He's just appearing to walk into the Abbey.
So Order of the Bath, as Cameron told us a short while ago, it is a special Order of Knights, which apparently recognises, and here's the King coming up, which recognises the work of senior military officials.
Here we go. The King is now walking in as well. He's alongside, I don't know who that is he's with, actually. But,
certainly not Andrew.
It's not Andrew.
The Order recognises senior military officials and civil servants. Historic figures who have been members of the Order include Nelson, Wellington and Lord Kitchener. And it's been going for 300 years, as Cameron told us. We will get to Cameron live in just a tick for a full report, but that was Prince William and the King entering Westminster Abbey a short while ago.
Right, well, stay with us. Sir Keir Starmer is still in Albania this morning as he prepares to enter into talks with up to 9 countries about plans to deport failed asylum seekers.
Yes, but what does it, well, all the recent talk of offshore processing, what does it actually mean? And how is it different to the Rwanda scheme, which Labour, of course, scrapped?
Well, let's find out from human rights lawyer David Haig. David, thank you very much for joining us. OK, so asylum hubs. What is he talking about? And also, what is the difference with those and the Rwanda scheme?
Good morning to you both. I think the first thing is that it's very different to Rwanda. So an asylum hub is the end of the process of the asylum application. So if someone comes here, let's say they come here across the channel, they make an asylum application, that asylum application fails, and importantly, we then manage to find them wherever they may be in the country, we could then return them, we could send them effectively to, obviously not Albania, we know that's not a possibility. We could send them to a country if we've managed to find a country suitable. So that's a tiny, tiny fraction of the problem that we have with illegal immigration at the moment. And not only is it a tiny fraction of that, we've got to find the country. Now, we've already said that Albania, Albania, as we saw with the rather uncomfortable press conference yesterday, that's not a possibility. But he highlighted Western Balkans countries. So let's take another one, Serbia. Now, if you just read what the US State Department says about Serbia, significant human rights issues. We know that recently there's lots of violence against student protests. So logically, is that going to pass a safe country test? No. And then go through all the other Western Balkan countries, you're going to have problems. So insignificant numbers, very difficult to find, I think, a country that would pass human rights standards as we have them in the moment in this country. So a bit of a white elephant, I think.
And Rwanda, talk to us about the Rwanda scheme, sorry, because that's one. And Rwanda, what's that? What was the difference?
So Rwanda was very different. Rwanda was, if people came here illegally, we would send them effectively straight away to Rwanda for processing and then returning to either to their own countries or another country or staying in Rwanda. So that was very different. And if it worked, that would probably be more of a deterrent than the Balkans, because that's a very, very tiny portion of people. That's if you've come here, you've stayed here, and if we still don't sort out our processing, you could have stayed here for years in a hotel. And if you're basically rejected, and if all your appeals are rejected, we're talking years now, we would send you to a different country. But, no, there's no way, I don't think, in this Parliament we'll be sending anyone to any Western Balkan country, particularly not the likes of Serbia.
David, why can't we just find a remote Scottish island which is currently uninhabited, not used, and just set up detention centres on there? No freebies, minimal access to doctors and whatever else, no Sky TV and games consoles. Why can't we do that here?
Well, we could, and one of the positive things in all of this, it was a few weeks ago, the UN actually almost green-lighted, return centres in other countries. We've just got to find a country or an island in Scotland or wherever it may be that will effectively pass the current human rights laws that we have, and that's the issue. So if we pick one of these Western Balkan countries, pretty much all of them, I think Albania was the only one that wouldn't, I think, end up in lots of litigation with asylum lawyers saying it's not a safe country. But I think any other of them, you'll be stuck for years with people saying it's not a safe country.
So basically, David, we're stuck with whoever comes here because nobody will take them back and we won't be able to get rid of them. That's why they're coming. There is literally no deterrent. David Haig, thank you very much. He's a human rights lawyer.
Just A, stop them coming in the first place, or B, if they're here, set up a detention centre, as I said, on a remote Scottish island and deal with it. Get it out of the way and make it a deterrent.
Well,
simple.
They should make it a deterrent. I don't know why they seem to want to not do that, but for some reason or other, they have some pious view that our human rights are so much better than everywhere else in the world.
Yeah, right. A 21-year-old Ukrainian national has appeared in court this morning after being charged with 3 counts of arson following fires at properties linked to the Prime Minister.
Now, this follows an investigation led by the Metropolitan Police's counter-terrorism unit and also comments from Sir Keir Starmer in which he condemned the fires as an attack on democracy.
OK, Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, is outside Westminster Magistrates' Court. Mark, good morning. What's the latest, please?
Well, 21-year-old Roman Lavrinovic has appeared in court number 1 here at Westminster Magistrates' Court. He arrived this morning in an unmarked police van under police escort for what was just a brief 15-minute hearing. He stood in the glass-fronted dock and spoke through an interpreter to confirm his name, his address in Sydenham in southeast London and his date of birth. He is a Ukrainian national who was arrested on Tuesday in connection with a series of arson attacks. Now, those arson attacks, the one that of course rose to prominence was in the early hours of Monday morning at the home address of Sir Keir Starmer in Kentish Town. Of course, he's no longer living there as he is resident in Downing Street while in office. But that fire, confined to an entranceway to that property, broke out at just after 1:10 in the morning and was quickly dealt with by the fire brigade. The court said that an earlier vehicle fire took place on the same street on the 8th of May. Now that vehicle, we're told, was a vehicle that used to be owned by the Prime Minister that was sold to a neighbour. And then again, another fire linked to an address in Islington that was a former address of the Prime Minister. That took place the day before the fire in Kentish Town. Now this young man, as I say, 21 years of age, has been remanded back into custody. He'll appear at the Central Criminal Court, the Old Bailey, on the 6th of June.
All right, Mark White, thank you so much. That is Mark White there. Right, so loads more still to come, but of course it's now time for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to enjoy as many getaways as you like in your very own 4-berth motorhome worth £67,000.
Where would you go in your own motorhome?
Dear, let me see. Probably Loch Lomond, somewhere in Scotland. Or maybe the Isle of Arran, one of those nice places where... Or actually to Holy Island.
Holy Island?
Near Berwick-upon-Tweed.
Yeah,
beautiful. I'd go somewhere maybe on the East Coast and up to Scotland. Yeah, loads of places. Where would you go?
I always say that it's called Route 500, is it? The very northern... It's their equivalent of Route 66 in Scotland. I think it runs all across the northern coast. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So you go along the East Coast and all the way along the top, then come back down again.
Anyway, it's your chance to win that car, the vehicle. £67,000 it's worth. And here's all the details you need to win.
It really is our biggest prize package to date, and it could be all yours, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine yourself driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome worth over £67,000. You'll find it has plenty of room to accommodate your family of 4. Comes with sky roof, kitchen and bathroom, and can be driven on a standard driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a further £5,000 in tax-free cash. There's one guaranteed winner for this prize package worth over £72,000, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed.
Right, US President Donald Trump has just finished his trip to the UAE, and there he is up the stairs of Air Force One. Notably not falling over like Joe Biden infamously did once. He seems to be a bit steady on his feet. He has signed a $1.4 trillion AI deal with the UAE. It, of course, follows his visits to Qatar, Saudi Arabia as well. And he wrapped up the UAE tour with a visit to the Abrahamic family house. The complex in Abu Dhabi in the UAE features a mosque, a church and a synagogue, houses of worship for the 3 Abrahamic faiths. And it was built in the UAE after Donald Trump instigated the Abraham Accords in 2020 during his first term as president. So there we go, a whirlwind tour of the Middle East. Seems to have gone well. $1.4 trillion deal.
That's a big deal, isn't it? Not like Rachel Reeves when she went to China and came back with £600,000 over 5 years. I'm sorry. Right, still to come, find out just how much some charity CEOs are being paid. It is a staggering amount.
I know it.
Unbelievable. Stay with us. We'll find out after this. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
Questions include, do you relax in a drawing room or lounge? I think the answer's obvious there. Do you have a big flat screen TV? Yeah, I do actually. And who did you cheer on in the boat race? Easy, Oxford, albeit unsuccessfully. That gives you an idea of where I stand, but let's quiz my panel, who will get points. And we all know that points make prizes. So, Lloyd, is it called a drawing room or a lounge?
A lounge.
A lounge. Tim, drawing room or a lounge?
Sitting room.
It's called a sitting room. So, well, I actually call it a winter parlour in Somerset. So none of us get any points for calling it a drawing room. There's always an agreeable chill in my home. Tim, true or false?
Of your home, yes.
No, of yours. You've been to stay.
This is a very interesting one, and actually, yes, I think it's true.
Okay.
I think in my house it is true, because I've got wooden windows.
You've got 5 points. You're getting quite posh. Lloyd?
True. My office manager used to have to wear a coat when he came round to my house.
All right, following on with Lloyd, scrambled eggs are strictly for breakfast.
Oh, no, false.
False. You get another 5 points for that. You are quite posh. I get points for that as well, actually. Tim? Scrambled eggs?
No, not just for breakfast.
Not just for breakfast. We're a very posh team.
So it's not posh to think.
All right. I don't have a downstairs loo, Lloyd.
Well, I don't at the moment because it's under refurbishment.
But under normal circumstances?
Under normal circumstances, yes.
All right, so that gets you no points on that one. Tim?
Fans of Are You Being Served will know that the test for being low middle class is having a downstairs loo and being within walking distance of a mainline station, and I have both.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 22 minutes after 11. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Akwe. And joining us, GP and medical writer Renee Honderkamp, and also former Labour MP Bill Rammell. Right, Dr Renee, we're going to start with you. I want to talk about the assisted dying bill. It's live in the House of Commons as we speak.
It is, and there is a protest outside, if anybody wants to chug along, that's there until 12 o'clock, that's been organised by Together. I'm completely against this assisted suicide bill because that's what it is. We already have assisted dying in this country. It's called palliative care. Unfortunately, it's not as good as it should be, but it could be, and that would sort the problem out. The reason I'm against this is I do believe that people will be coerced, and for me, if one elderly person gets coerced into dying when they didn't really want to, it's one too many for my right to die.
It's also a bit of an extra stress that you now need to consider. Oh, is it time? Maybe I'm going to be a bit of a burden. Perhaps I should just let them, just kill me now so that I don't... Bill Rammell.
Yeah, I always voted against assisted dying when I was an MP. At the start of this process, I still would have said I would vote... If I was still an MP, I'd vote against it, but with a heavier heart. I have to say, as the process has gone on, I've become more and more convinced that this bill should fail.
What alarms you?
I think, some of the lack of clarity, some of the changes, like the removal of High Court judges having a role in decision-making. And although I respect Kim Leadbitter, I just don't think it's been well handled as a bill. And I'll make a prediction. It only got a 30-vote majority when it was on its second reading. I think this will ultimately fail.
Well, I hope you're right, but I mean, Kim Ledbetter has bullied her way through this. She has loaded the committee with people who are pro, and the people who are against are very junior, apart from Danny Kruger, very junior MPs who not really, you know, got that gravitas to make their voices heard. She has not had representative groups from the disability. She's only had the disability groups that want this. She's not had the representation from the other side. There's been lots of areas where it really hasn't been cleared about, you know, would we offer it to people with anorexia, for example, or is that a mental health condition that can be overcome? You know, there's too much of that. It's too grey.
There is, and you know, your point about inexperienced MPs. I remember walking through Westminster Tube at the time of the second reading, and there were incredibly emotive posters, clearly really well funded, on virtually every wall. And I thought, half of the MPs were elected for the first time in 2024.
Well, she was asked.
You're trying to bully them.
Yeah. She was asked herself on another radio station yesterday, because she spent half an hour on that station, whether she would use assisted dying if she needed to, and she didn't want to answer it, and she said she didn't know. And that's interesting, that as well, because Esther Ranson, who was one of the reasons why this bill is really...
She's still alive.
She's still alive, but that was because of some medical new drugs that had come through. Ironically, had this been available, she may well not be here with us.
She may well not be here.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, and people do get bullied. I see old people who feel that it's their duty to leave the earth because otherwise their care homes are going to cost too much.
Yeah. Indeed, and I mentioned earlier families as well. There are some of them, I'll say it, there are some of them who look at the inheritance and start plotting and planning estates and things.
There's a lottery
when
win.
money's involved, things get iffy. Shall we move on? People apparently, the non-profit sector, charity. By the way, this is a dying debate you can see on screen. It will continue throughout the morning and we'll bring you the latest on it as it develops. Charities are struggling, apparently, Bill, the non-profit sector, because allegedly people are a little bit miffed with the salaries CEOs are earning. So, for example, this is in the Daily Telegraph, the CEO of Macmillan is on 190k a year. Age UK, the boss, is on 180 a year. And Cancer Research, she's on £276,000 a year. And this is apparently why people are donating much less to charities.
Well, I need to declare an interest. You know, I'm a chief executive of an educational charity. I'm not paid £100,000, but I am I can't even say it.
Remunerated.
Well paid. There is significant regulation through the Charity Commission that you have to go through each year. And charities do need to attract talent. So there's a balance to be struck, but you need scrutiny and you need to go through the regulatory process.
Yeah, and I mean, I donate to Cancer Research every month. And don't forget, the Cancer Research are involved in lots and lots of research into new treatments, cancer, etc. So it isn't just a little charity that's got shops on the high street. They are doing important work in the health field. So I do think we do need to have oversight of these things. But then consider, you know, if she was running an NHS trust, not Cancer Research, she'd get paid that much. So perhaps
Well, I can remember how the Charity Commission came out when Hannah Ingram Moore, who was running her charity, her father's charity, and they came out when she asked for a salary of £150,000, which was what she had been paid previously, which is why she asked for that, and they acted like she was being greedy. Yeah. I mean, I found that absolutely shocking.
The bigger concern for me with the charities is not so much the salaries. Some are on exorbitant salaries, the bosses, but it's the percentage of donations that go towards the actual cause. I'm not sure what the minimum is off the top of my head, but I think it's maybe something like 20%. I may be wrong. But you'd expect, if you're donating to charities, that the majority would go to the cause and not for staffing costs, for properties, for admin, for this.
Well, I think every charity should tell you that. So I think that when you donate to a charity, it should tell you how much of your pound will go to the cause rather than running the charity.
But particularly for small charities, and I speak with knowledge on this, the vast bulk of your expenditure is on staffing costs because that's what you deliver. So we resource schools in the teaching of contested history, and we do that through programmes that we run in schools, and that's delivered by the staff. So, you know...
I get that, Bill, but I was the trustee of a charity. It was a disability foundation, and I didn't take a salary. I did it because I truly believed in the cause and what they were doing. It was a very small charity, and I can tell you, getting money for small charities in this world, even then, which was probably about 10 years, is more than a struggle. It's really, really hard. So, you know, if you believe in it, then don't take a salary.
Well, OK, well, let's move on to this. Let's talk about Keir Starmer, confident of making progress on post-Brexit reset ahead of the major EU summit. Bill Rammell.
Yeah, I think we will get a deal next Monday. I know I'm in a minority of one on this panel.
You think? Why? Why do you think we'll get a deal?
Because all the runes that have come out and the briefings, most of it has already been agreed. EU deals always go down to the wire, as this one will. But I'm in a minority of one on this panel because I believe Brexit has been a disaster, and actually most British people believe that.
What would you not say the trade deal, though, with the US was a great example of Brexit, a Brexit benefit?
Yes,
okay.
but the downside, but the downside in terms of massive regulation for imports and exports, which have gone down significantly, and the economic hit to our country has been significant.
You could say the same about joining with the EU. They have massive downside with regulation and everything else.
Yeah, but you have a seat at the decision-making table, and Britain.
What out of all 27 other nations?
Yeah,
do you think
Britain
you've got much to say?
only outvoted on a handful of occasions under what's called qualified majority voting when we were in the EU. But nevertheless, I think we will get... I mean, you know, Johnson's EU Brexit deal was a disaster. I think we will get a significant reset. And, you know, that will mean in the space of 3 weeks we've got a US trade deal, an India trade deal and an EU trade deal in anybody's book. I think that's good news.
What I think is hysterical about this is when they do their deal next week with the EU to take us closer, they're going to allow the under-40s to travel here and to mop up all of the...
It's the under-30s, isn't it?
No, the EU are now demanding, apparently, over 40s, so let's see. But it doesn't matter, under-30s. 65% of people who came to Britain under the last, when we belonged to the EU, were under 30. What they will do is mop up all of the low-paid jobs that our own people should be taking. They will keep those salaries low, and this is why these salaries stay low. It's why care homes don't pay our staff enough to do the job, the most important job in the country, because they don't pay them enough, because they don't have to. We need pain. We need these companies to get pain and for the taxpayer not to subsidise them, and they will lift the wages. That won't happen when we do this.
All right, very briefly, Bill, you can't surely support the suppression of wages due to a scheme that enables more young people to come in and flood the market?
No, I don't support it, but you tackle that through regulation in our economy. And the reality is, and one of the ironies of this, I accept that a significant driver for the Brexit vote was immigration. We've replaced hard-working East Europeans who were productive and contributed to the economy with hundreds of thousands of people from elsewhere in the world.
I agree with that.
I don't know about that, because you don't know, because we never counted how many people were coming in from the EU.
And also, I would say that those people would still have come from these Sudan and Eritrea. They would still have come.
And do you know what's happening? I interviewed the former Polish Prime Minister the other week for my show. He said everybody's going back home. All the Poles are going back to Poland because it's now looking like a better prospect in terms of immigration and security and whatever, and borders, than the UK is, unfortunately, for the time being. He said that was his greatest success. 500,000 Poles in the last couple of years have gone back to Poland.
Well, partly it's to do with the fact that the pound collapsed against the euro as well, because they were taking the benefit of the pound being high, so now it's come down a bit. Right, stay with us. Thank you very much to Dr. Renee Hundekamp and also Bill Rammell. But now let's get your latest news headlines with Sophia Hill.
Nana, thank you. Very good morning. It's just gone 11:30. These are your latest headlines. Top story, 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died and 2 firefighters are now seriously injured after a fire at a former RAF base in Bicester last night. The flames broke out overnight at the former RAF airbase, prompting a large emergency response with 10 fire crews. Earlier warnings for nearby residents to stay indoors have now been lifted and the roads have reopened. Keir Starmer continues day 2 of talks with the Albanian PM to agree separate measures to crack down on organised crime and illegal migration. Yesterday, the Prime Minister confirmed the UK is in talks with a number of countries about return hubs abroad for migrants awaiting deportation, although that won't include Albania. The PM is now looking to reset relations with the EU.
Well, in the last 2 weeks, you've seen the UK do a trade deal with India, really important for our country and our national interest. Trade deal with the US, again, important for our country and national interest. I'm positive going into Monday, and I think that this is an important moment for our country that will be measured in the benefits to working people and their living standards. But we're positive as we go into the summit on Monday.
As you just saw the Prime Minister there in Tirana, where he'll be joined by other European leaders to discuss how to ramp up pressure on Russia. Keir Starmer has called Vladimir Putin's tactics to dither and delay intolerable ahead of the meeting of the 40 leaders today. And a watchdog warns that law enforcement's missed key chances to tackle criminal gangs smuggling migrants into the UK. Although disruptions have risen, most organised smuggling groups aren't being actively investigated. Inspectors also found intelligence gathering on migrant arrivals is ineffective and lacks robustness. With small boat crossings described as the most dangerous and the most common route into the country, the report says law enforcement must do more to tackle this growing threat. A 21-year-old Ukrainian man is in court today after being charged in connection with fires at 2 properties and a car linked to the Prime Minister. Roman Lavronovich faces 3 counts of arson with intent to endanger life. The Met Police have said that he was arrested at an address in south-east London in the early hours of Tuesday and charged on Thursday. He'll appear today at Westminster Magistrates' Court. MPs are deeply divided as the assisted dying bill returns to Parliament today. The proposals, backed by Dame Esther Rantzen and Sir Keir Starmer, would legalise assisted dying for terminally ill adults. We're seeing live pictures now from inside the House of Commons. Medical bodies have raised serious concerns, with some arguing that the bill does not have enough safeguards and has been rushed through. The final vote is not expected today, with debate likely to continue into next month. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.132 and €1.187. The price of gold is £2,411.46 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,683 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Sophia. Up at noon, Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Got the memo, the attire-wise. I think Nana's the only one who wanted to instil some positivity.
I must say, Nana's dress does pop on the television.
Thank you very much.
It's very
fresh from the Lib Dem conference.
Yes. Well, obviously, I can't wear black, otherwise it'll just be darkness in the corner.
And we're going to be speaking to a Liberal Democrat, aren't we?
We are. There's this cross-party committee, the Food and Environmental Affairs Committee in Parliament, has released this report that is saying that the family farm tax should be delayed for at least a year, because it was rushed in with almost no consultation. People don't know what's going on. It's damaging to farmers. It's extraordinary that this is a cross-party committee, MPs of all colours on that committee. And we've got the chairman, Alistair Carmichael, coming on the programme to tell us exactly what they're telling the government to do on this.
Absolutely. And also, could it be that the government have decided that the Chagos deal isn't a goer? That it's not a fantastic idea. We're hearing reports now, aren't we, that perhaps there might be a rethink happening and we may not be giving away the islands for a lot of cash.
To rent it back, yes.
To rent it back, yes,
well,
essentially, yeah.
There we go, 2 birds with 1 stone. You were talking about offshore processing for migrants. If we get the Chagos Islands back, send them there.
Oh, yeah, third country. Albania don't want to do it.
I know that there was a minister under the previous government who suggested that we could use the Falkland Islands or Ascension Islands or one of these British overseas territories. The problem is, number one, the Falkland Islanders do not want that.
No.
Number 2, if you're a British overseas territory, you have free movement with the United Kingdom. So it's not like a place of detention. People could just come back to the UK because it's still British sovereign territory.
Build a detention centre on the island.
Well, then
like
you might as well put them in a prison.
Detention
well, they haven't sort of qualified for citizenship or even to qualify for asylum yet. So, absolutely, asylum seekers should be detained.
Well, there you go. You can... full of ideas this morning.
Yeah, there we go.
Illegal migrants, obviously. All right, Tom and Emily, look forward to your show at midday.
Thank you.
Right, up next, we'll get an update on the fire in Bicester at a former RAF base. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. This extraordinarily dry, warm and sunny spring continues. Widespread blue skies for the rest of Friday. Some cloud in the east, not perhaps as extensive as it has been on certain mornings through the week, but it could well persist across that east coast through the day, coming and going as the hours wind by. And elsewhere across the UK, well, it's virtually cloud-free skies and under the strong mid-May sunshine. Temperatures will reach 23 Celsius towards the southwest, 21 there for parts of Western Scotland and Northern Ireland. But it's going to be much cooler on the east coast, where we've got the cloud and a cool breeze from the North Sea. That cloud just lapping onto the shore of eastern Scotland, affecting Shetland from time to time as well. But otherwise, as we end the day, it's clear skies across much of Scotland, northwest England into Northern Ireland. Still feeling warm at 6 p.m, still high teens, low 20s widely. Wales, the Midlands, southern England, it's the same story. Clear skies, feeling warm as the sun goes down. But after sunset, well, as temperatures fall away, the cloud in the east will creep back inland and perhaps becoming rather extensive during the early hours. A few drizzly showers possible as well for parts of southeast Scotland and northeast England. Temperatures dipping to 7 to 10 degrees, although a little lower for some sheltered parts of central Scotland. Then we start off the day on Saturday with a lot of low cloud, a rather grey picture across much of England and East Wales. Rather quickly across western areas that cloud will retreat, but patches could remain through the Midlands and eastern England into the afternoon. Nevertheless, widespread sunny skies by the end of the afternoon break out, and it's similar temperatures, 20 to 23 Celsius, feeling very warm.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Let's go back to that breaking news now, where 2 firefighters and a member of the public have died at a former RAF base in Bicester.
So 10 fire crews attended the major incident at Bicester after they were called to the scene at 6:39 p.m. on Thursday, so yesterday, and the fire is now under control.
Yes, if you're watching on television, you can see the smoke billowing from the former RAF base there. 2 other firefighters were also seriously injured and are now recovering in hospital.
Right, well, taking that drone footage we've just shown you was Jamie Matthews. He joins us now. Jamie, good morning. What can you tell us about the fire, and do we know why the fire started? What caused it? Sorry, Jamie, we're having issues with your line. It's sort of breaking up a bit.
10 fire and rescue crews were called to tackle the fire. It prompted a major response and warnings for locals to stay indoors. The council said 4 crews remain at the scene and the blaze is now under control. But the sad, and there's the pictures, the smoke billowing out if you're watching on television. If you're listening on radio, it's the former RAF base in Bicester. Massive smoke plumes billowing from the site there. And 3 have unfortunately died, including 2 firefighters. And it has to be said, you know, firefighters putting their lives at risk day in, day out.
Yeah.
And I guess we forget about the risks that they face to protect us.
Very tragic. I mean, look, the site actually now is home to classic car restoration and an engineering business, so it'll be interesting to hear, because so far we don't particularly have any news as to what they think caused that fire. In a statement, Bicester Motion said, "We are deeply saddened to share the tragic news. The 2 firefighters and a close friend of the site have lost their lives. There are no words at times like this, but our thoughts and prayers are with the families and their loved ones. We also pray for the 2 firefighters in hospital. The bravery by the emergency service teams has been overwhelming. We are grateful for all the support and especially the exceptional work by all in such unprecedented circumstances."
Yes, and the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has released a statement this morning describing the deaths as devastating news. He said the bravery of our firefighters is astounding. Hoping those in hospital make a full
and swift recovery. Yeah, there we go. Bicester, 3 dead, unfortunately, in that fire, including 2 firefighters and a member of the public. The blaze is under control.
All right, still to come. If you are in search of some holiday sun, then here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome to your holiday sun forecast, and there will be some sunshine for Italy following some unsettled weather this week. Blustery showers, though, pushing into Greece, some heavy downpours and strong winds. That eases away over the next few days, and we're seeing the last of the showers clear southern Italy, with plenty of sunny spells returning. Spain and Portugal, perhaps the places to be. Plenty of dry weather, some patchy cloud, otherwise largely sunny skies. A few showers for Italy, but most places looking good into next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point.
He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. Now, the Prime Minister is currently meeting world leaders at the European Political Community Summit in Albania.
Now, they are gathering for a family photo. Let's have a quick look in there. So you've got the leaders from lots of different countries: Albania, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Iceland, Kosovo, Liechtenstein, Moldova, Monaco, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Norway, San Marino, Serbia, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, and of course
You're just
United
reading me
Kingdom.
your passport stamps, aren't you?
I have been. I'm so well travelled, but actually I've travelled all around the world, but actually less so in the EU, sort of in the European Union.
Keir Starmer, interestingly, there next to Volodymyr Zelensky, flanked by Emmanuel Macron. He's on the front row, I guess. Ursula von der Leyen. There's Giorgia Meloni of Italy. Who's that chap? That's Erdogan, isn't it? To the left of her. Turkish Premier.
Yeah, so they're all going to be discussing so far, of course, we're in loggerheads with the EU over the fishing rights, but I think this is where he's going to try and get other countries to agree to have some of these return hubs and try and sort of win favour with some of the EU leaders who are there to discuss our closer relationship with them, which I think is a little bit worrying, but...
3 high-level roundtables, so the organisers. The first is Europe's security and democratic resilience, including Russia's war against Ukraine. The second one is competitiveness and economic security. And the third is mobility challenges and youth empowerment, which, again, as you just hinted to, is the nudge back in towards EU... the European Union, by the back door, I guess.
It's interesting because somebody pointed out that when you're like 30, you're not really a youth, are you? So the under 30s, including 30-year-olds, I think that's stretching it, isn't it? Usually by the time you get to about 21, 25, at least, you'll have finished university and you wouldn't be studying. But anyway, we will keep you abreast of that throughout the day on GB News. But let's talk Eurovision. There's a UK's Eurovision entry. Remember Monday? That's the name of the group. Wow fans in Basel. Have a listen.
The hell just
I don't know what just happened. As I keep saying, it could be the theme tune for the last couple of years, but viewers on X, I mean, what do you think of that track? Viewers on X have said they absolutely smashed it, the group, the 3 ladies, and they praise them for their vocals.
Really? Look, they may have good voices because some of the last ones we've had have been absolutely abhorrent and couldn't sing, so I don't understand why they were doing it or who the hell voted for them. But the thing is, for me, the song is awful. It's not a winner, is it? Like when you hear... something by Queen or something by... Do you know what I mean? You hear a hit.
It's just generic.
Or, like, when you hear Rufus and Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody, or one of those tracks you think, that's a hit. This is just generic, run-of-the-mill, average, very average.
Yeah, good luck to them. It's just, it doesn't stand out, doesn't it? For me, I'm no musical expert, but it hasn't got that spark. You know, you don't think you're going to listen to that tune in 40 years' time.
But did they, and will they finish on top or receive nil points? Joining us now is someone who knows how to impress the continent, Eurovision winner with Bucks Fizz, Cheryl Baker. Cheryl, am I being totally unfair with this track? What the hell just happened?
Yes, you are. Get behind your country, for goodness sake.
I'm behind the country. I'm behind the country, but this is an awful song.
No, it isn't. It's a matter... One man's meat is another man's poison. I think it's a great song. I like you, though. I think that... I mean, there's some really good songs in this year's competition, really good ones. And so they are up against it. But they're great singers. They do a great performance. I love the fact that they rip their skirts off at the top of the show.
Bucks Fizz.
I don't know where they got that idea from, but... I don't honestly think they'll win, but I do think that hopefully they'll be on the left-hand side of the board. That would be great.
Yeah. Cheryl, who's your favourite then for the competition? I think Sweden's entry is something to do with saunas, right?
It's very good. It's a really catchy song. It's a bit quirky. I don't know if you remember the Icelandic song in lockdown where they had the green suits and they did the funny little dance. That would have won had the competition gone ahead, but it was cancelled. And the Swedish contingent, they're doing the same sort of thing, quirky little dance, all in the same suit. Bit of a nick, really, from Iceland, but they stand a really good chance of winning. It's a good song.
But that's the thing, Cheryl. These girls have got good voices, I don't deny that. But for me, we are so good at music and songwriting. I just feel sometimes it feels weak. We don't really be putting, you know, we've got such brilliant writers. Why this song?
Well, you mentioned Chaka Khan and Queen. Do you think that they would ever do the Eurovision? Come on, get real.
But people who write like that,
I mean, the song. I agree with you. I think should be, because in the words of Making Your Mind Up, it speeds up and then it slows down, and you don't really know where it's going. But it could do very well. I mean, there's some soaring ballads in this year's Eurovision, and there are some really great pop songs. That's the thing. Whether you like it or not, you can't vote for our song.
Indeed.
So you have to appeal to the rest of Europe.
All right, Cheryl Baker, so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. That's it from Britain's Newsroom. I'm back on Sunday. Ben Leo is covering.
I'm covering you tomorrow and my show as well. See you tomorrow.
Could the family farm tax be delayed after all? That's what a cross-party committee of MPs are now demanding.
And was Keir Starmer embarrassed in Albania yesterday? It doesn't look like that country wants anything to do with us when it comes to return hubs or offshore processing. So what's next for the Prime Minister and his plan to crack down on illegal migration? All of that next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Just like yesterday, there will be some low cloud in the east today, but it's less extensive already compared with yesterday. Sunny skies elsewhere and feeling warm in the sunshine as high pressure continues to bring settled weather across the whole of the UK. This high pressure is not budging through the next few days. It's going to sit to the north. That means that with winds circulating clockwise around the centre of the high, we've got a northeasterly breeze down the east coast. That's bringing the low cloud, and it's going to make it feel chilly on the North Sea coast. Elsewhere, it's simply sunny skies, staying dry and feeling very pleasant in the sunshine. High teens, low 20s widely, could get 23, 24 Celsius towards the southwest. Then into the evening, as the sun starts to go down, the low cloud in the east starts to creep back in, so it's likely to affect parts of Shetland, Orkney, into Aberdeenshire, perhaps Fife, as well as the southeast of Scotland and northeast England. But for Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, clear skies as the day comes to an end. Wales, the south and southwest of England staying clear for the time being, but the low cloud is making inroads, and after dark it will become a lot more extensive once again, mostly affecting parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but also coming into the Pennines.